Welcome to the KMC Collective Podcast, where the KMC team brings you practical insights, creative ideas, and authentic conversations for children's ministry leaders. Each conversation is packed with strategies to help you lead with clarity, build strong teams, nurture families, and stay healthy in the process. Whether you're planning lessons, training volunteers, or seeking encouragement for the week ahead, this podcast is for you. We hope to make you laugh, cry, think, and maybe a bit of all three in each of our weekly conversations. This is the KMC Collective Podcast. Let's jump into the conversation.
So as a younger ministry leader, I'd often go to ministry conferences and I would hear some incredible leaders sharing some incredible wisdom. And I would often say to myself, if only I could get a few minutes of time with them so I could ask questions about my culture, my context, and how I could really do this, to how I could really drill down and get to implementation. I was one of those leaders that I could come up with lots of ideas. I just struggled with implementing. I struggled with managing my tasks and my time, going Mach 3 with my hair on fire. And I really wished I had that opportunity. And finally, I took a chance and I got an opportunity to sit down with an amazing leader who is affectionately known as the GOAT of Kidmin. It's going to be an awesome conversation. I cannot wait. If you're watching on YouTube, you already know who I'm talking about, because this man has been a mentor, a friend, a coach, someone who has helped a lot of leaders think differently, to think more effectively, to think in steps, not leaps and bounds, especially me, who likes to jump around. So get ready. This conversation is going to be fun and filled with wisdom. So grab a notepad, buckle up, folks, and welcome to the KMC Collective Podcast. My name's Tom.
I'm Cole.
I'm Ben.
I'm Vicky.
I'm Jim.
See, you all are
sleeping.
Mesmerized. Did you?
I wasn't sleeping. I was just seeing if Ben wanted to go first.
And there you go. This is the group that you are in, Jim, tonight.
Mr. Process, I thought we would go by picture,
Yeah.
I just thought it would, there you go.
There we go.
I took a week off. I figured Ben would jump in. He's got it.
Yeah.
Last week's podcast, man, I put a hat on backwards. It just felt weird. I even sticky noted my forehead and said I'm cold, but it just, nobody believed me.
Yep. Nope. Well, hey, if you can't tell, if you're listening by audio, our good friend Jim Wideman is with us, and he's back on the KMC Collective. He's been here before a couple of times. We've done
2 or 3
episodes, and we're going to have to do another one.
But not with the whole group. Not with the whole group.
This is the first
True.
time.
This is the first
This is the first time with the new team.
Since Tom stole Vicky, but that's a whole nother work. That was the thing Kenny wanted to know last week. He said, "How did Tom steal Vicky?" I said, "I think he just asked her."
Age and treachery always overcomes youth and skill.
Well, there you go.
It's good to be wanted.
There you go. There you go, Vicky.
It really is.
There you go.
And I wasn't going to let her get away from our team. In fact, Jim, you were the reason why we actually met. Vicky and I met face to face. We'd been Facebook friends and community in other ways, but it was because of your Coaches for Coaches training that we met in person.
Yeah. Now, here's a question. Ben, do you live in Michigan?
I don't. I'm actually in Georgia.
Have any Michigan ties? Or
my family is in Michigan.
Okay. As long as you have some Michigan ties.
But I'm not a Michigan fan.
I'm feeling very Michigan-y.
Well, Ben, I don't know if you should tell Jim who your team is, because there's kind of a rivalry there.
Yeah.
Ruff. Woof, woof. Go Dogs.
There's no problem there. We only play them
so
in
we
playoffs.
can talk.
We don't play. Yeah. I thought it was something. As
really
long as
close
there's no
Alabama.
orange and blue. That's the only problem. I have no. I live in Tennessee, so I have no problem with orange. I just never mix blue with it.
Yeah.
Smart move.
Oh, we have probably already lost some leaders who are like, why are you guys talking about colors? What does that have to do with anything?
Talking about football,
Right?
and that's
Football, yeah, War
which
Eagles.
is
It's
life,
important.
which is life.
I'm with you,
All
Jim.
right. Well, then we better dive into some leadership stuff.
That's right.
Good.
And so I'm gonna kick it off. So Jim, with your experience, what are some of the most common things that you're seeing newer leaders struggle with that keeps them kind of being stuck or not as effective as they could be? What kind of things do you see? And maybe give us a couple fixes too. That would be great.
Well, I think number one, people need to read their Bible, and
Ooh.
we're kind of at the place where what does the Bible say about children's ministry or this crazy job that we have? And it's one of those things. The best New Testament word I know is shepherd. The shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, serving as an overseer. First Peter, and that really gives us our three biblical job descriptions, which is, anybody that keeps animals or a shepherd or, we've got cows next door, and it's the time of year that the cows are having babies. And this morning it was so cool. I came to work and watched two cows give birth in my, next to my church parking lot, which is always exciting. And came out at lunchtime, and all the cows were sitting down. And I was told my whole life you can't go fishing when cows are laying down because fish won't bite. And so I don't know if that's true because I've never gone fishing when the cows are laying down. So you got to feed them suckers. And anybody that's cared, and that's our first role as a kids pastor, is we're over the feeding. And the thing about feeding is you're not just doing the actual feeding yourself, but there's buying the feed, there's making sure they get fed, the large operation. There's all kind of folks involved in the feeding process, and that's like church, whether it be small group, large group, any of the classes and things. We're responsible for the feeding part, but that's not our whole job. It also says, feed the flock of God that is under your care. And people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so that whole idea of caring for kids, caring for leaders, caring for parents, that's important. That care piece is there. And then there's the other thing that I think is the hardest, and that's just oversight. And we're responsible for the oversight, the policies, the procedures, all the different legalities and things that, man, in this day that we live in, who knew you're going to have a release to take somebody's picture? And so all these different things together are part of our job. And I think that, the balance of those three, people usually get one or two better than the other, but it's important that we do all three.
Take it back to the beginning when you first started, way back in the turn of the century.
In the 1970s.
All right.
Ooh, in the 1900s.
Yeah,
I know
this
you've
was
seen
1970.
You've seen a lot, and you've gone through and you've served amazing ministries. I know my ministry is because of your wisdom and your leadership. Right. I've read so many of your books. We've talked on the phone a couple of times. We've met in person, and just I've grown because of you, and I've learned a lot of skills because of you. But when you started, when you were starting out, taking it all in, what did you find being the hardest part with leading leaders?
Well, in the 70s, there were no leaders to lead. Uh, the whole idea of children's church, everything was Sunday school back in the 70s. And children's church was a brand new idea, that concept. And, people would buy in to be Sunday school teachers, but the idea of missing church and the second hour kind of thing, that was brand new. And there wasn't very much curriculum to buy. There wasn't anything. I actually cut my teeth watching Bozo Circus.
Yes.
And old WSM, I would pick up my lunch and run home to watch Bozo Circus, and I'd eat my lunch and take notes. And whether it be the grand prize game or something, we'd come up with different ideas of doing things and teach kids. And um, you know, that was really uh, any kids crusade that was in our area and any denomination, you just went and took notes. And it wasn't really till the 90s that I got a hold of John Maxwell's teaching tapes and started realizing, because in the 70s and 80s, it was all about balloon animals, puppetry, doing gospel illustrations with surprise endings. Don't want to use that magic word. And all the other things that were out there. And when you went to conferences in the early days, that's what everybody was talking about. And it wasn't to the end of the 80s and the start of the 90s when I realized I had one group of kids and three groups of adults I had to work with. I had parents, because not a single child in my children's ministry had a driver's license, and so I had to work with parents. I also had to work with adult leaders, and that whole idea of the scripture of again that the fivefold ministry gift. Again, there's the prophets; they're set out from the rest of the hand, or the apostles are set out from the rest of the hand. Prophets point things out to the body of Christ. The evangelists stick out. That's also the gift that offends people. I added that part. Then there is the ring finger. That's the pastor. He's married to the church. And then the teacher's gift. That's the only finger that'll fit in your ear, and that's what the teacher's gift does. Fivefold ministry gifts to prepare God's people for works of service so that the body of Christ will be built up. And so that scripture really let me know that I wasn't supposed to do it all. And I believe ministry is a team sport. And I started building the team and putting in the parents as well as the leadership. But then there's that adult leadership in your church that you have to relate to. And nobody taught us how to do that. And so 3 groups of adults, 1 group of kids. And it's really the combination. And that's when I started teaching leadership to my own leaders. And my original Children's Ministry Leadership Club tapes that I had for all those years and made available, and all my books, every chapter and every book was a leadership tape. And every conference I ever spoke at, that workshop was a leadership tape. And so I started teaching leadership in the late 80s and got to introduce children's ministry to the country of Australia in the late 80s. And they looked at me and said, "You're talking about something other than Sunday school, aren't you?" And it was kind of brand new. So that's when I started really doing leadership stuff, and still doing that today.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So, Jim, let's go into that a little bit, right? Leadership, we know we're not supposed to do it all. We know we're supposed to like equip the saints to do the ministry, which leads to delegation.
Yeah.
But I talk to so many people who are like, I love my job. I love everything about my job. So, what wisdom would you give to leaders that, right? We love what we get to do. That's why we're in children's ministry and youth ministry. But, like, how do we delegate well, giving away ministry, understanding that the more we do that, the more families and kids we can equip? What advice do you
Yeah,
give?
I I think somewhere we have confused our role because uh, a, a good senior pastor, yes, they might do the primary teaching, but they don't do all the leading. And that is the thing that um, I realized, and it might be because I've had the privilege of working at large churches. Uh,
Mhm.
in the early days of children's ministry, uh, when people ask the question, what surprised you the most that you've seen in children's ministry over 50 years? I always say that a church of 300 or less has a full time children's pastor. Because when I started in the 70s, uh, only churches over 1,000 had a children's pastor.
Wow.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
there was no when INCM started and CPC started, there wasn't a single church there less than 1,000 because it was all large churches and that had a children's pastor on staff, and most of them were men. In the early days of children's ministry, there were very few women.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it wasn't really the Sue Miller and Willow Creek. That was the first place children's conference I ever spoke at that they turned all the men's bathrooms into women's bathrooms. And so we had to walk really far to go to the bathroom. And
Oh, shame.
yeah, being a big boy, that was hard to walk that far. And so it was it's crazy how different things we look at have changed over the years, but it's always to me been about building a team sport. And the problem with delegation, and it might be because I'm from Alabama, and so I went to public school in Alabama and college in Mississippi. So I tell people I'm educationally challenged. I use a dictionary a lot. If you look up the word delegation, it's just to assign somebody a task. Uh, and you can assign somebody a task, but that doesn't mean they'll do it well. That doesn't mean they'll do it like you. And the problem with delegation is we hadn't realized that we have to duplicate to those that we
Mhm.
delegate.
Hmm.
Anytime you delegate without definition, it creates a weird spirit and a weird outcome. And so duplication is an exact copy of an original. And so we put into people. You say, well, Jim, um, the people on my team, they can't do it as well as me. Well, there was a time you couldn't do it as well as you. Somebody let you
That's for sure.
sorry all over a group of kids and get better. And we
Hmm.
have to uh, build that team. And to me, building a children's ministry team is no different than building a championship football team. I can tell you who's going to win the uh, college football championship for the next as long as they have it. And that's whoever has the most depth at key positions. And the only way you're going to get depth is let somebody represent you and let them get some playing time. Most children's
Mm.
ministries are 42 points ahead, but they won't let that second string, every third Sunday, I let my second string lead worship, my second string teach. On the fifth Sunday of every month, I work on my third string. And that's when we let them get some playing time. You say, well, they're not very good. Well, you can't send everybody to hell in 1 week. And so it's one of those things that just let them get some playing time. And you're never gonna get good if all you ever do is let your first string play. And
So
that's the
good.
Yes.
same. That's the same thing in children's ministry as football.
Yeah. Jim, I want to just shift a little bit. We've talked a lot about volunteers and leadership within the church. I know one of the things that I really struggled with when I got into ministry was s- allowing parents, or this idea of what's the basically the line we toe as volunteers, kids directors and kids pastors versus parents discipling their kids. Like, where's that line for you? What does that look like? We know it's a big topic of, well, we're going to equip parents to disciple their kids at home, and we want to put it back into the parents' hand. What does that look like to you? How do you feel about that? And what is that? How would you talk about that with other?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm a huge Orange Strategy guy. Um, I believe with all my heart that um, the home and the church needs to work together. Um, I learned years ago that um, if a kid never misses church, we don't have the hours that the home does. And, I like to see it this way. Um, it doesn't matter if you're talking about the Bible or you're talking about math and science. Kids that get help at home have an advantage over those that don't. And every professional educator and every professional children's ministry will tell you the same thing. Help at home gives a stronger outcome. And I do believe that what happens at home matters more than what happens at church. I think they both matter, but the home can undercut what the church is doing more so than the church undercut what the home is doing. Uh, Most of the time, the church puts in more than the home, um, unless that parent is really bought into being the spiritual covering for them. But I know that, I've been I'm working on a brand new grandparenting book that I'm so excited about. And, if you ever wondered why there's two parents and four grandparents, I mean, there has to be parents need supply. And I believe it's a three-legged stool. I believe the partnership of the home includes grandparents, parents, and the church. And I think that in a perfect world, those six working along with the church, uh, because Deuteronomy 6 is important. Deuteronomy 4 came first, and that's the first time your children's children is ever mentioned in the Bible. Deuteronomy 4:9. And so this whole idea of remember what the Lord did and teach it to your children and your children's children. You sum up every Jewish holiday and feast day in that. And that was the whole purpose of those things. We know Deuteronomy 6 was written to parents, but Deuteronomy 4 involved those grandparents as the keeper of the God stories and to pass on that faith. And so I believe with all my heart that, um, you know, um, we're all working together um, to pass on faith. And, um, I think the thing I love about this new generation of parents, I think they really want to do more than their parents did. They just want you to show them how.
Yeah.
And as a
There it is.
children's ministry
Yeah.
person,
There you go.
we have to give them the tools to do that. And again, you know, we're trying to give parents, uh, when a small group leader can communicate to the parent, give that parent tools to be able to be the one to share faith with. And uh, in the early days, I did a baptism class. Um, these days, we're doing more baptism class for parents, so the parents can have that talk with their kids. And so that whole idea of um, doing those things, but let's be honest. PTA meetings have been going on since, dinosaurs roamed the earth when I was in school. And so it's one of those things that I've always had regular parent meetings uh, with, uh, uh, the families in my church, small group leaders having those family nights and things at the church, and again, we don't have to do all of our talking at a coffee shop. We can have coffee at the church and have folks come to a parent small group later night, and so that communication is huge. But it starts with 15 minutes before class and the 15 minutes after class, uh, learning parents' name and learning their stories. And, that's, one of the bad things that I have seen is the fact that we've become name tag dependent and we don't know people's name. And Cheers taught us that. Everybody wants to go where somebody knows their name. And so it starts with the local church.
We were evaluating and just taking in all these amazing people that have joined the Kid Ministry Collective Facebook group. And we're noticing that there's a lot of newbies, if that's a good word. A lot of people that either jumped in because their church doesn't have anything, or they're been asked to help to start something. But there's a trend of a lot of new people jumping in, which is awesome because there's a passion and a desire to help see kids know Jesus. Um, but as I'm talking to people and as we're having these conversations, we're noticing that they don't know where to go. They don't know how to do it. For some of us, when we grew up in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, there was this great book called Stretch, and it was written by you, and it
See,
helped me.
Well, here's a problem. It wasn't written to 2011.
That one right there. So I
Yeah,
was about
Beat the
11 years
clock.
in when I read it, and it helped me tremendously create structure and create and all that stuff. What would you say for these newbies, these new people that are jumping in that don't know where to go and they're just searching, they're hungry for knowledge? Where can they put their time and their effort that you think that would be most successful for them to start and just launch?
yeah. For me, um, uh, I know over on the Leader Lab, I have articles on just about everything. One of them is 15 smart things to do. Um, your first year in ministry, and uh, you know, this is where not knowing the questions ahead of time, I don't have those 15 things memorized. But I will say that it always starts with learning the definitions. What every ministry, there's three time zones in ministry. There's what's happened in the past, that's the history. Um, there's the past, there's the present, and then there's the future. The future is what you need to change. The present is where you are. You can either work on the church you have, or you can work on the church you want to have. And the problem with new people is they don't know the difference. Uh, the first thing you do is study the past, and you see people's definition of good. Sometimes good really isn't that good. It's just the best that that church has known. And so I want to know what their definition, where is the bar set? And so that lets me know I study the past. Then I assess where I am. When I was younger, I changed my own tire, but I joined AAA to get little maps. It's funny now that I'm older, I let the little guy at AAA change my tire, and I bring my own maps. But when I joined AAA, I got those little maps. And there was two questions they always ask if you got those little maps. Where are you going? And that's where most churches live, in vision land. But you won't get the same map. You won't get the right map if you don't know where you're starting from. So that knowing where you are and then knowing where you're going is the vision of the church. So that's the starting place. The next thing I tell people to do is identify what needs to be changed. And rather than start at the biggest things, follow David's advice and kill you a lion and bear. I wish I could tell you I started with the lion and bear. I actually started with the roach and the fly and worked up to the bumblebee and the cat and a few other things before I took on the lion and bear.
And had lunch with a clown.
Yeah, I've had a lot of lunch with clowns, but the key is you fix things that aren't that bad, and all of a sudden you start building what Maxwell calls change. And you start building that change, and they say, I don't know what they've done, but since they've been in charge, this is better, this is better. I know I went to a church one time, and the first thing I did was change all the bulbs in the projectors. And they had never been changed. And everybody goes, man, the videos are brighter. Everything's better. The lights are working. And I think the next thing I did is I added signage and people so that they were above the door so you could give directions in the hallways. That's nothing major. But all they knew is since Jim's been in charge, this is better, this is better, this is better. Yeah. Now I can take on the boogaboo. I can take on that big thing that needs fixing, and everybody's behind me and says, he can do it. He can do it because I built that change. And that's so that's where I tell people to start.
Oh, that's so good, Jim. You know, you and I have had a lot of conversations about longevity and legacy. And I've been working with a group of brand new leaders, newbies, as Ben would call them. We've got two groups, we call them the foundation groups, and I'm working with them. All of them are 5 years or less in ministry leadership right now. And it's been so much fun. Like you've always said, you learn a lot from people that are younger. But I'm also there because I feel like there's a lot that I wish somebody had taught me when I was a younger leader. We didn't know each other when I was just starting out. I was a few years into it by the time I met you. But as you're looking back, if you were talking to a brand new, one of my foundation group people who are all younger, new leaders, what would you say to them to say, if you're going to be in ministry for the long haul, and if you're going to leave a legacy of changed lives around you, here's where you need to concentrate most, for you personally as a leader.
Everything starts with the Word of God, and that's, my number one priority is my relationship with Jesus. It will really help your ministry to know Christ. And so I want to make spiritual deposits before I write any checks. And so that is important, that I minister out of that overflow, and that I'm probably young Jim was running the big church, trying to cover a spiritual check he already wrote. And so watch your relationship with the Lord. Number two, watch how many nights you give the church. The church can only have 3 nights. So if you have a Sunday night service and a Wednesday night service, that's 2. They gonna have 1 more. My family gets 4. The church at most gets 3. And so I watch my nights. I take my time off. Everybody needs a Sabbath. Even convicts get time off for good behavior. And so you got to learn how to rest and rest well. And so that's important. that you take that time. My phone has a bedtime. They don't pay me enough to have me on call 24 hours a day. And so I think the biggest difference between a phone on the wall with a curly cord and the one in your pocket is people think just because they text you, you're supposed to answer that. And I'm sorry, when I drive up, my phone goes on home focus. And unless it's an emergency and they're on that list of calls that'll go through, I don't answer my phone. And so I, in my book, Beat the Clock, we talk a lot about your time belonging to you and all that stuff. And you got to act like your time belongs to you. And I think that's the most important thing that you can do on that. And so I think that's what I tell folks starting off. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yes.
And there's certain gauges you have to watch. Your joy gauge is one of those. There's a difference between being thankful and thanksome, and you can't confuse the two. Full is not capacity. Full is to overflowing. It's how you measure full. And so you can have a whole bunch of things, but that don't mean you're thankful. I saw R.W. Shambach. Some of you, all you old Pentecostals know about R.W. Shambach, but R.W. Shambach is one of my favorite preachers. And he took a glass of water one time and says, whatever you're full of, that's what'll come out when you're shaking. And I have, with kids, instead of water, I fill it up with candy and I'll shake it. The thing about when you're shaking, you have to refill. And that's one of those things that your joy has to refill, your thankfulness has to refill. Again, be full of the Holy Spirit. That's a full-time job. That's not a one-time event. And so it's one of those things that I would tell folks. Then the other thing is get a coach. And a coach and a mentor are two different things. There's a lot of people that are mentors of mine that don't even know I exist. But I've read their books, I've listened to their sermons, I've listened to their podcasts and all those things. Coaches I'm in relationship with. And I know today I had my one-on-one with my pastor, and it's always such a good time. And to meet with him. And it's kind of funny because I was a mentor of his. He was one of my youth volunteers when he was 18 in Bible college. And now I tell him all the time, well, learn something from you again. And it's just a fun thing. But those read some books. And, my books, are good because they're practical.
Yes,
And,
that's for sure.
That's the difference. And I've got two more coming down the pike. I'm really excited about a new book called Fourth Quarter that I'm real excited about. And anybody in their 40s needs to read Halftime. Anybody in their 50s are going to need to read this new book that I'm writing, because you can't win a game in the first half. You got to go the second half, and they're either won or lost in the fourth quarter. And so we're going to talk about that, and so that's a longevity thing, and will help you. And then I got a new book on grandparenting because
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's going to be
that
good.
one.
Yeah,
It's going to be good.
I don't want to be a grandparent anytime soon. So
You don't? I'll tell you,
not
it's the
yet.
rewards for not killing the first bunch.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I joined that club not that long ago, and I'm
It's pretty
loving
wonderful.
it.
Yeah.
Now
Jim,
we see
loving
too
it.
many pictures.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love the coaching conversation. I remember, well, it's been a few years now, but I thought I was too old for coaching. Like there was a season and we had a conversation. I mean, it's probably been more than a few years. And it was like, no, like if you're still in ministry, you still need a coach and a
Yep.
mentor.
Hmm.
And that changed the way I thought about things. And it was what helped me be a part of your Coaching for Coaches
Yeah.
group. And just your
Mhm.
Yeah.
belief in me and the fact that we still need a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It doesn't matter what sport you play, and how good you are. The one thing all those people have in common is they have a coach.
Mhm.
And, you know, what I've learned, I I work at a church that's probably one of the most influential counties in Tennessee. And I'm finding that all these successful business people have a mentor and they have a coach and they, um, are still learning and doing those things. And it's one of those things just giving you a different perspective. Uh,
So good.
and it makes a huge difference. And Tom talked about it at the very start, but you know, I'm learning from 20-year-olds. I mean, the biggest difference in me today and I'm, when I was younger, I really used to think my way was the best way. And I'm finding out there's a lot of different ways to do it, and they all are good. And they all have their place. And so that's been a good thing.
Uh,
So good.
yeah,
So good.
I'm so glad that in fact, I remember the first time I approached you on doing Infuse, which I probably would have been part of Infuse too, but at that time my senior leader wasn't supportive, and I remember you going, "Well, man, you gotta have your leader behind you before you can come into this program," and I was chomping at the bit, and I actually moved churches and got a new leader, and he's like, "Yeah, you can do this program. I think it'd be good for you." And I dove in, and I was so excited to be part of Infuse 8, and I mean, that was all the way back in like 2014.
You're aging yourself.
I
Yeah,
know.
we figured out the other day, me and Kenny sat down, and I've had more than 700 folks come through
Oh,
coaching
good.
staff.
Wow,
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
that
been
is
good.
amazing.
It's
That's
been
a
fun.
legacy in itself, over
Yeah, I was
Yep.
gonna say.
700
Yeah.
people. But
Yeah.
you truly believe in it. Like when you say everyone does better with a coach, I think the four of us on this call are a testament to that,
Yep.
Yeah.
that we are better because
Hmm.
of your coaching.
Well,
Yep.
you're mighty sweet. It's
Yep.
it's been good. And that and that's what I'm trying to do with uh, this new stuff that I'm doing with senior adults is just provide coaches for every different period of life, from marriage
Yep.
mentors to
Yep.
parenting to just doing everything together better.
Hey, and
Ooh,
we say
we
that
need
a
to
lot
have him
around
back.
here.
When that book
Yeah, I was
comes
gonna say.
out, we're going to
Yeah.
invite you
Yeah,
back because I
Yes.
want to
yeah,
I want to chat about that book, a whole
yeah.
podcast on
I'm
that book.
Yes.
excited. I'm excited. It's the first time I've ever kind of done two books at one time. But I wrote the fourth quarter book and I finished it, and it made me want. I had actually started the grandparent book 5 years ago during shutdown and never finished it. And I went back and finished it uh, uh, right before the D6 conference, and that's what I was talking to Tom about. And
Yep.
uh, I got more excited about it than I did the fourth quarter book. So, um, but uh, so it'll be good. I'm having some uh, pray. I'm having some talks with a publisher, and we'll find out if I go that route on the grandparenting book. But it is, I'm really excited about. I think it's going. Yeah, I have a little thing that when I read a book, I always say to Yancey, "This book's going to help a lot of people." And I sent both books to her, and I make her read them, see if I'm gonna embarrass her when
Oh,
I die.
man.
And she reads. She read it. She said, "Man, Dad, these books are gonna help a lot of people."
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got her a sign of approval.
Thank you
Well,
so much for being
Thank
a
you,
part
Jim.
of today. Like,
Oh man,
I don't
thank
want this to
y'all.
end.
Well, all good things must come to an end.
That's
Yeah.
I
right.
just have to
If you don't
re-listen to
leave,
it.
you can't. If you don't leave, you can't come back. That's what my first pastor taught me. I
that's
was
true.
talking to people in the lobby. He said, "You got a 5 o'clock service. You got to leave, or you can't come back." And I said, "Man, I'll preach."
He'll preach.
Amen.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thanks, Jim, for so much for
Hey,
taking
thank
time
y'all. This
and
was
being
fun.
with us.
Yeah.
We sure do appreciate you. I mean, that's why we're all coaches, is because of the influence you've had. I'm
Well,
trying to do
thank
what
you.
you poured into me. I'm now pouring into
Right.
others,
Same.
as well as this team. So,
Yeah.
we're grateful. We're grateful.
Well,
So,
I'm sure grateful for y'all. Good friends.
all right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of the KMC Collective Podcast. I'm Tom.
I'm Cole.
I'm Ben.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Jim.
There he is.
Hey.
There you go.
All right. Until next time, friends.
Hey, friend, that wraps up the KMC Collective podcast for this week. Thanks so much for listening. If today's episode sparked something, an idea, a heartbeat, or a fresh start, drop us a line at tom@tombump.com or reach out on social media. We'd love to hear your story and keep the conversation going. Remember, you're not just doing kids ministry, you're shaping the next generation's faith with intention and care. Be encouraged, be creative, and take a breath. You've got this. Catch you next time on the KMC Collective Podcast.